big day today because we are going to eat my broccoli and ground bison and rice first. But then we're going to hop in the ride and we're going to head over to Vaughn and we're going to check out the new Vaughn SLR4 goalie pads. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go. Well, eat up and then let's go. So you know the place. We're back in the familiar confines of Vaughn Custom Sports, and is that right?
That is correct.
Custom Sports.
That is correct.
Okay, always. So I am here again with Connor and Jay from Vaughn. Connor is the pro rep, Jay is the consumer rep, and we are looking at the SLR4s. This time we're going to start with the pads, the glove, and the blocker. How does that sound? That sounds very, very good. So kick us off. Show us what it looks like, and tell us everything that's changed and how it's going to help us stop more pucks.
Absolutely. So pretty exciting time for us with the SLR4 Pro Carbon launch. SLR3 had a lot of success, a lot of good traction. SLR4 is better with some changes in the right direction. So first of all, we changed the core, so our carbon core technology. We have a new core, carbon wrapped at the top of the pad to give the pad a little bit more torsional rigidity. So again, we're talking about those 5-hole shots. We're talking about a pad being more structurally sound for a longer period of time. So that's huge, one huge change, obviously. The second change is obviously this new knee block integrated into the core. We've got a more stable knee block. So when we're driving down into the butterfly, this knee block is not moving as much as it did before, and we're getting into the butterfly quicker and having more stability when in the butterfly. The pad is not moving forward, the pad is not moving backwards. It is more rigid in this spot. Thirdly, we have new RRC Plus attachments, similar to that of the V10, which had a lot of success for us, where we've got 2 anchor points in the leg channel and 2 different attachment points in the leg channel, again, where you can wear your RRC outside the calf wrap, going into the leg channel, and you can also attach inside the leg channel with this Velcro tab. So again, we've got the ability to use one RRC strap, one RRC Plus strap. We've got the ability to use both. We've got the ability to go inside the leg channel, and we've got the ability to go outside the leg channel. So the feedback on V10 was amazing in terms of RRC Plus straps and connectivity to the pad. We fine-tuned it. The anchor points are a little bit different. They are at the inside the inside calf wrap instead of the inside of the leg channel. So it creates a little bit of a wider leg channel, which is what the SLR family does. But so far, I've skated in the pads, Connor's skated in the pads. The feedback is really great on this pad. Another great change we've done to this pad, again, the flat boot is the trend everywhere we go for the most part. So we've kind of re-engineered the boot to be flat, quick slide on the inner boot, so less friction when we're...
Connor's holding up the SLR3 and Jay's got the 4. So then you can kind of compare and contrast, and we'll get some close-ups as well so that you can really see the differences. But I like this idea of putting some of the slide material on there. That's a cool idea.
Exactly. So less friction in the boot channel. When we're talking about going down in the butterfly, we're dropping down. Our skate is not having any friction as it would have potentially in the past with the boot channel. And we're getting where we need to go. Flat boot. Pad sits a little bit taller. We're getting better 5-hole coverage when the pad sits taller. And then obviously we're getting better post integration. So when we're RVHing into the post, our connectivity to that post is better. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of what we've done. We've got a pad again that is thinner, is stronger, is lighter. And you know, again, where we win is with our connectivity to our pads. You can go without any RRC straps. You can go with all the RRC straps. You can wear this pad a number of different ways, but a definite winner so far in terms of who we've had on the ice. We've had OHL kids, we've had AAA kids, we've had just, rep kids, men's league guys out there, and the feedback has been nothing but good so far.
What style of goalie is going to love this pad?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. That's the $1 million question that always gets asked. And, I think we're all true believers that anyone can wear this pad. It's just about dialing in strapping, thigh flex, and sizing. This pad's straighter than the velocity line, so it's going to sit a little bit taller. So I might go personally a half size smaller in this pad compared to what I would do in the V10. But speaking on when I see, I've had rep hockey players in both V10 Pro Carbon and SLR4 Pro Carbon. They felt like they were good in both. but for one reason, maybe that particular day, he was a velocity goalie, like the connectivity a bit better in that pad. I've worn both, like I said. I would be confident going into any game wearing both. But I feel like if you do want a pad that is a little bit more connected to you, then you would probably go with Velocity. Has a little bit more of a pre-curve in Velocity. We've got a bit of a straighter pad, a slightly stiffer pad. But I think that conversation remains I think everyone, can wear either line.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Now I see, so I see this is a really different sort of looking knee area from what I've seen in other pads.
Yep.
And what's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, well, I think, again, we want less friction in the kind of the knee channel or knee area. I think when normally it would be flat or normally it would be gutted and it would be nylon in there. So we have the option to have the stock option in the knee, which you see kind of this honeycomb look to it, or we also have what we call our half open knee area where we remove the comb pattern that you see here, and it's just nylon all the way through, but we remain with the outer flap that is removable, and that's a great option as well. We've had both in demos. I think both are fine and both work well. But I think this design, instead of it being just a flat piece, is just maybe to reduce a little bit of weight, and obviously it looks fantastic and great shelf appeal. I think one of the last things we should probably talk about is quick slide. Quick slide for us, and Connor can speak to it and I can speak to it, is when we get goalies on the ice with quick slide, they just slide faster. So they slide faster on fresh ice and not fresh ice. And when you're fatigued and it's halfway through a period or at the end of a game, you're gonna potentially get from point A to point B faster. No question about it.
Yeah.
So
that's been like a very common theme, especially in the pros that I deal with. Guys coming out of different brands, and I'm not even kidding, they get 2 power slides in and they're like, this is unbelievably fast. Like they almost have to detune themselves in order to compensate for how quick slide really is.
Yeah, and so one of the things I've tried a different brand, not the brand that I currently skate in, but a different brand, and it almost felt like when there got to be snow in the crease, that it kind of gummed up a little somehow. Like I don't know if you've heard other people say that, because I kind of feel weird saying that, but is that a thing, and how does this sort of address that?
Yeah, when it comes to other brands and their technologies and materials and stuff that they're using, it's friction obviously that you're feeling, right? Like when the snow and everything's in the crease and it's bunching up and whatnot, moving laterally, you're obviously pushing and gathering more snow as you're coming across, and it's just more friction with the pad. But the way we've designed the inner side of the sliding area with quick slide, the integrated knee stack, how rigid it is, how that slider now on SLR4 is slightly different from what we did from SLR3, it really does dissipate snow, and it really does just slide way quicker than we've really seen anywhere else.
Yeah. You guys were out to the Turning Pro training camp last spring, which, thank you very much. You knocked it out of the park. It was unbelievable. And that's one of the things I love about coming down and chatting with you guys, because you are genuinely passionate about helping all goalies, and so I had the SLR3s on, and they are very nice and slidey, and I like the slidey. So
yeah, absolutely. I think one last thing to call out as well would be just how thin we've made this. We've got a bindingless outer edge. We were able to thin it out, so when we're actually in our stance, that feeling of thigh rises colliding it, when you've thinned out a thigh rise, you get less of that. So that was one thing I noticed immediately, being a straighter pad and wearing 34.2 in SLR3, thinking, okay, you know what, I've got my demos in the right sizes here, and I put them on, I'm like, these feel big. And when I got on the ice, I had nothing to worry about. It was great. So a great job by Mike and Brent and the design team. Changes for the better, and definitely hit a home run with this.
Yeah. So, and I'm an intermediate goalie, so weight plays a big role. The lighter the pad, the easier it feels for me to move in it. And then also sort of those top corners almost getting hung up on each other. So I'm really interested in how much thinner the SLR4 is relative to the SLR3. So tell me about that, and tell me from a performance perspective what the thinking is and what you get out of that.
So like you mentioned, right, like with the top of the pad, when you're in your stance and you're going down into your butterfly, the thickness at the top when you're actually starting to cross pads here is obviously going to play a major role. So with SLR3, we did a good job at innovating and actually making the pad thinner from SLR2. But with SLR4 from SLR3, we've even done a better job at thinning the top of the core, really getting the chunkiness out of the top. That way when you do start to cross, It's a seamless transition, and there's no knocking that's going to be
Yeah.
involved here. And that's definitely something that we've seen, especially at the pro level, that has been a major difference from 3 to 4.
Yeah, so they're just going to kind of slide across each other and not get hung up.
And I think too, as younger goaltenders get into bigger pads, as they grow out of their pads, and they're trying to get into, say, a bigger pad that will work for them, that plays a key role, because as they get into that pad that's taller, thigh rises collide when they're going down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we thin out the pad, and you look at the profile of the pad, and as it gets thinner, you can see it on the inside edge here as well. There's just less of that, and it's one less thing to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. How does the weight compare, would you say, to from even just from the SLR3 to the SLR4? Or?
I think it's marginal. I think it feels a bit lighter, for sure. But I think we also talk about how weight is dispersed over the pad and the balance of a pad. And it definitely feels lighter to me when I have it on the ice. But I feel like with the boot design and with the thinned out top, that it's a more balanced pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a comment I've received through pro guys. Is it's maybe the weight directly with each other hasn't changed very much, but the balance of the pad has changed drastically. So one comment that I received from one of my pro guys out of Germany was that the SLR3 that he wore felt more of like a bottom heavy pad, so he felt more of the weight down by the toe. But with SLR4, it was so balanced that he couldn't pinpoint where the weight was. So I mean, balance is going to be obviously a massive thing, and knowing where your pad is 100% of the time. So the balance for sure is done a really good job with SLR4 and is a big move for us.
Yeah, it looks unreal. I'm kind of excited to give it a try on the ice if I get a chance. So some of us are a little diva-esque, and we want it to be flashy. We really want to have style. So what are our options for doing that? How spicy can we get?
Yeah, so I mean, we can get pretty spicy. Obviously, the kind of nuts and bolts of it. First, we're talking about boot flex. We're talking thigh flex. We're talking about what knee we want in terms of whether we want a half open knee, full open knee. We want the stock knee set up. How rigid we want this pad, or how soft we want this pad. So there's a misconception out there, I think, by a lot of goaltenders that, oh, well, this is a straighter pad and a stiffer pad, and it's not for me. Well, we can make this pad soft at the thigh, and we can add flex to the pad so that it'll be a little more user-friendly for those who need that flex. Or conversely, we can make a pad straight and stiff that's going to stay stiff for a long period of time. So boot flex, thigh flex, strapping. You know, this is our stock strapping setup. Do we want to add leather straps for those who want to add leather straps? Do we want to add a boot strap? Stock setup does not come with a boot strap. Do we want the old RRC, V9 RRC, or SLR3? So V9 had the Velcro as a thicker pad, Velcro, SLR3 had the magnetic. That's a popular custom option. And we have spec sheets. So when you do go into a store and you want, say you want SLR4s and you want to kind of look into those specs, there's drop downs on the spec sheet for the SLR3 magnetic RRC top and the RRC Plus on the bottom. There's a box, a checkbox for this knee area. There's a checkbox for the flex here. There's a checkbox for the flex here. We're talking single break or no break. So those are the basic options in terms of what we can do. It's either done on the customizer on our website with a reference number sent in to the retailer. The dealer will send it in with the spec sheets, or there's spec sheets, which are PDF dropped by number, color zones, which the dealers have as well. You're mocking it up online. I'm sure we spent many hours doing that, wasted and had a lot of fun doing that. But the spec sheets have all the check boxes for all the specs. Typically, year one of a pad, we're going with the stock graphic for now, which is great. I think Mike and the design team did an awesome job with this graphic.
Sure. Yes.
Really sharp, a lot of great feedback. And then obviously, as year one kind of evolves, we typically add all our spicy diva-esque graphics, whether it's iceberg, pulse, swirl, vintage without vertical stitch, without fake straps on the shin, vintage with fake straps on the shin. Obviously the toe setups can be changed too, whether it's a screwed in toe bridge with lace or bungee. But we can pretty much do anything. And like Connor and I have touched on the past with you and with others out in the field is we're here, we're accessible. I'm accessible. If you're dealing with a store in Ontario, or if you have any questions outside of Ontario, feel free to ask me. But we deal with custom equipment pretty much on a daily basis. and we're here to help you find what's going to make your game better. So we can do it all. And if you need spec sheets, you need advice on where to go, you need advice on who to see in terms of a dealer or a store, I'm here. You want to pick my brain about what I would do with a pad if you want it to be ultra stiff or ultra soft, I'm here. So we can do all those kind of cool things. And then, Connor at the pro level is doing those things on a daily basis. He's got European goaltenders that can hold their body weight on their pad, Simon.
Yeah.
And, he's dealing with it on a daily basis, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we are Vaughn Custom Sports, and we want to make gear that's going to work for you and not work against you in the crease. And at the end of the day, we want you to stop more pucks and get more wins. So, I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, that's and that's actually a really good point. It's like you're not Vaughn goalie pads, you're Vaughn Custom Sports. So I like it. We get spicy, boys. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
Let's shift gears and talk about the glove and blocker. So we've got the SLR4, SLR3, just for a little bit of comparison. Give us a scoop. What's new, Jay?
Yeah, so definitely a big change here for us in terms of SLR4. We found back with our V9 XP Pro Carbon glove, 60-degree break glove, pretty popular glove globally.
Tell again, because I never can keep them straight. I'm always like, it's the finger to the thing. So what's 60 degrees?
Well, 60-degree closure is kind of like I would say ring finger to kind of thumb, like a baseball type closure.
Okay.
Better for a small hand for sure. One-piece cuff. SLR4 incorporates a thin single T and a redefined backhand, as we can see here. So we just made a glove that was super successful for us with some fine tuning and adjustability. Obviously, Pro Carbon's carbon throughout. And then as we talk about the internal strapping, we're talking about 3 different points. We're talking obviously our wrist, back of our hand, back of our fingers. So basically what we did is we took our most popular glove and tweaked it and turned it into our SLR4 glove, our most glove that is in the most demand. We also changed to a Velcro thumb loop, just kind of, again, minor tweaks, making it a little better.
What was it before, a tie-in?
It was, just your typical kind of
ties.
Clarino ties
Yeah.
that you would see. And then, again, redefine the backhand, small incremental changes just for better closure. But again, a glove that a lot of people gravitate to.
What options do people have if they're ordering a custom?
Great question. So we can do it all. We can do game ready palm. We can do pro palm and practice palm. We can change tees from thin single to double to hybrid double to old
What's
7.
a hybrid double?
Hybrid double is it has an attachment at one place and it flares open like a single T, but it has lacing in between.
Okay.
So
yeah.
it is like a double T, just one anchor point, whereas a traditional double T is 2 pieces on its own, and it comes together and it's 2 separate pieces that is anchored together.
Okay, let me ask you a question about this too, because so I ordered a double T, and the glove was just like a mutant glove. So then I took it down to Source for Sports, and they worked their magic on it, and now it's single T, and it's great. But like, is there a difference, or is it fashion, or is it give it
Very, very controversial opinion. I think it matters. I'm typically a traditional double T user. Reason why I like it, there's more lace in the pocket. And also with a traditional double, there's more lacing in between that has the ability for movement. So when you catch a puck, there's more quote unquote basket area to catch a puck, further to be flexed within the T pocket itself. That's why I like the double. Now there's a growing popularity in what we call our 7000 T, which is the fatter single T. A lot of guys like that just because of the feel when you actually catch the puck. It's more of like a snap instead of more of the traditional double being like a basket type of catch. So feel definitely does change from T to T, and also going from skate lace to nylon lacing is also a differentiator from T pockets.
I think the thin single T has been popular over the years because you see more of what's inside. So is the puck in my glove? There's a lot of, whether it's skate lace or nylon lacing, there's a lot of lace there. So as Connor touched on, 100% bang on, when you have a double T, there's more lacing and more give, takes spin off the puck. This enables you to see what's going on in there. And there's a lot of lacing just on either side of the single tee.
Yeah. I almost feel like with the single tee, and I went from a skate lace to a nylon lace, that when you hit the sweet spot, it just snaps the glove closed. Like I don't have to do anything. It's like if I hold it in the right spot with that one, the other one, it just was maybe felt a little, maybe it would corral it more, but it wasn't quite as definite. Like boom, it's there.
Actually, that's a great point. I think one thing we should call out is what makes a glove close and feel more worked in than others is how a glove is laced.
Yeah.
So when we build our gloves here, we have one of the best glove lacers in the business. So it's pretty often where I go somewhere and I've got gloves that have been used no times or 5 times, but the new gloves close. So the tension in what you lace a glove, all this material is sandwiched together and tied together. So when you lace a glove too tight, whether it's the tee, whether it's the palm perimeter, it doesn't close. And for us, I get a lot of feedback from the dealers and the stores that say, we sell your gloves because they close. Mm-hmm. So that was a great point, and I think our gloves are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Also, just the comparison here between SLR4 Pro Carbon and SLR3 Pro Carbon. So this is a 60-degree stock break. It comes in a 70-degree stock break, where this break in the palm moves a little bit closer to the thumb, so it's a little bit more of a fold over. The SLR3 was closer to a 50. I believe,
Correct, yep.
So it was the break in this glove was moved a little bit closer to your fingers. So you couldn't, unless you had a bigger hand or longer fingers, the break wasn't necessarily getting into the palm for all sizes of hands, whereas this glove will.
Yep.
So nice job by Mike and the team there for sure.
Yeah.
This is our go-to glove, and a lot of gloves are our go-to gloves for us, but this is a winner for sure.
If you order a custom and you get a game ready palm, like how soft is it? Like I've never had one, but is it like?
Yeah, so a lot of gloves off the shelf are game ready. So there's just one less layer of material inside the palm, and it closes a little bit easier for those who don't want to break it in, maybe for a younger goaltender. When you add material into the palm, it thickens the palm, and it takes away some stingers. But at the end of the day, it's really a function of what the needs are of the goaltender. If they're feeling a lot of stingers, then they would order a Pro Palm as their one glove. If they don't mind that and they're doing fine with a game ready glove, then maybe they would just stick with a game ready glove. And those who can do 2 gloves will either do a game ready and a practice palm, or a game ready and a Pro Palm if they're younger to be their practice glove. So I think really at the end of the day, it's a function of how many times you play a week, what kind of hockey do you play? Is this glove going to get 200,000 miles on this glove between now and 3 months from now? So where do we need the glove to be now and then halfway through the season?
Yeah.
So yeah, we can do it all to the glove. So a lot of great options.
Can you break it in?
We can break it in. We can break it in. Absolutely. We can, people can contact me anytime with any advice on breaking in a glove. So yeah.
Awesome. So we got the Blacka, which even I joke about it. It's like it's a blocker, but I know there's more to it. So fill us in.
Yeah. Well, how many times have we all said a blocker is a blocker is a blocker? I think we've all said that multiple times, and that can be said. But I think with goal equipment evolving, we need to evolve as much as we can. So what we have here is the SLR4 Pro Carbon blocker. This originated from the XP blocker, which was a blocker that we produced and has continued into the SLR4 with some changes. So we've got a thicker board in terms of the width of the actual board. So we've got a more rigid board, obviously full carbon and bigger rebounds. And just a beefier blocker. We've got a little bit more material in there. It's going to have, your rebound's going to have more pop, and it's going to maintain its rigidity longer. We've got a rigid sidewall as well, integrated into the side of the blocker as well, so we can see a lot of coverage when we're locking in to make those saves into our body. So a very nice design here. Just again, more rigidity and more structure to the blocker. We've got a little bit different palm material compared to what we had in our SLR3, with more sure grip and a more comfortable palm. And then we've got what we call an open cuff, the original XP, the 360 cuff. So we've got an open cuff when we're trying to flex and when we're trying to direct pucks into the corner. Hand position kind of remains the same. I would call it a centered hand position. SLR3 was a little bit of a higher hand position. And when we look at this overall blocker, and Connor can touch on it, we've got a blocker with a little bit less flare at the top and a little bit more flatter, presentable blocker to the shooter. Okay. A little higher hand position.
Yeah, this, just from looking at it, this looks shorter.
Correct.
Than that.
Yeah, just by the side profile here, you'll be able to get a good idea of the actual shape of the board and hand position. So with the SLR3 board, this was very much what we call a finger blocker board, meaning there's a lot of board down lower by your fingers. Where with SLR4, with this big curve and everything you see up top, there's a lot of board up by the wrist, and so your hand position on the SLR4 is very centered on that board. So it's a very balanced board, whereas SLR3 was, again, vast majority finger. So
A little higher hand position.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think this this makes good sense. Like where my hand is kind of centered, and so.
Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, the couple trains of thought are, I feel like this shape of board you utilize in more situations.
Correct.
Where that board helps you is when you're reaching for that low shot over your pad.
Yeah.
Because you've got
this
got
is a
more.
very specific blocker board. So I was a big fan when I played throughout college and stuff using this style of board, strictly because I was weaker for the low blocker shots. So I wanted a little bit more board down by the finger. So when I did go to reach for pucks like that, I would abuse this corner here.
Yeah.
Just because I had more down there, right? Whereas with an SLR4 like board or the older boards out there like our thinner velocity board, since it's such a centered board on my hand, I would have to reach earlier and really shove my hand down there to get a piece on that puck. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think overall, as we try to evolve and as new lines come out, we're trying to tweak. Some needs more tweaking than others. And we didn't need to do a ton to the XP blocker, but with the SLR4 blocker, we definitely went in the right direction. And again, I think the rebound statement about blockers is a key conversation, and rebounds are definitely hotter with this blocker than they were on some prior versions, whether it was Velocity Family or SLR.
No, that's awesome. Like sharp looking stuff. And thank you for walking us through and explaining the differences, because I think a lot of people are, the same as me. Like it looks at, and it's like, okay, what's different, and how's that going to help me, or help me make a decision of, oh, that's something that, I'd be really interested in, or I think will help me. So thanks so much, guys. I appreciate you taking the time. And let's get people trying this stuff out. So that is the scoop on the new SLR4 setups, and I might try and get my hands on a little demo set. If I can, I'll take it out on the ice and give you some, just tell you what I feel as an intermediate goalie. These guys are super, super helpful, so check out the description I'll pop Jay's Instagram. Is that okay if I put your Instagram in there, Jay?
Reach out anytime.
I'll pop Jay's Instagram in there because, again, service matters. Guys who play, who really care about getting you the right equipment, no matter what level you're playing at, that has tremendous value when you're spending money on a new setup. So don't be shy to reach out to Jay, and he's happy to point you in the right direction. I'll catch you on the flip side.